This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Hi, friends. I'm Carrie Jo, and this is Holy Chuckles Podcast. This is a space for honest faith, lived experiences, and shining a light in the places we've learned to hide. I'm not here to explain faith. I'm here to live it out loud. So take a breath and let's make room for what's real. Welcome back to Holy Chuckles Podcast. I'm really glad you're here. This week's reflection, it isn't about understanding the verse better. It's about what happens when you stop trying to escape it. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 25 has been living in my body this week, not just as a warning, not as judgment, but as pause. There is a point this verse names where truth has already been spoken, where awareness is already there, and where nothing else is stepping in to move things along. Not because something is wrong, but because this part requires restraint. And what I've been realizing as this grief moves through me, this grief isn't about just one thing. It's not about one relationship, one loss, one moment. This grief is an accumulation. It's grief that's lived in motion inside my body for most of my life. It's grief I've never stopped long enough to feel. It's grief I learned how to explain, manage, spiritualize, or carry quietly. What this verse helped me understand is what's actually happening right now. Nothing new is being added. What's happening is that all of this grief, all of these old patterns, they're finally being allowed to pass through me. When I think back, most of my life, my patterns looked like movement, explaining, engaging, repairing, performing, even trying to regulate myself through connection. Even insight kept me in motion. But this verse, it didn't change when I understood it. It changed when I finally stayed still. And being still, for me, it looks like not analyzing. I can analyze everything and I can analyze it for hours and hours and hours at a time. For me, it looks like not fixing, not narrating. Being still, it just means holding it, feeling it, and letting it pass in its own time. Because old patterns don't break because we understand them. They break because we choose to stop feeding them. And for the first time in my life, I'm not interrupting the grief. I said this on my last episode. Responsibility does not feel empowering. It feels quiet. It feels contained. And what it looks like sitting in silence without turning it into meaning, letting the discomfort rise and fall without any type of explanation, not chasing reassurance. It looks like letting my nervous system finally learn that nothing bad happens when I don't react. This is the part that no one can do for you. Not insight, not love, not even God. And this is what this verse has been teaching me. Spiritually, I've changed. And this healing and this verse has completely changed how I understand God. I was taught, and I used to think God as someone who steps in to fix things, to answer prayers, and someone who rights the wrongs. But what I've realized through my healing, through this verse, through me being still, is that God doesn't override free will. God doesn't force accountability. God doesn't interrupt consequence. And God doesn't bypass grief. But what I've learned and what I've experienced is that God does remain present, not just beside me, but within me. What I see, God sees. What I feel, God experiences. And how I choose, God participates, not as control, not as interference, but as presence. Through this, I've learned no amount of praying, begging, or bargaining was ever going to make God step in and do this for me. Because this was a part of my life that I had to step in for myself. And I realize through this time of being still, being quiet, I realize something hard and honest, that I've never stepped in for myself until now. And God didn't do this part for me. I did it. But what God did do is God held me through all of it. God held me through every decision, every restraint, every moment. I stayed instead of running. And now, consciously, I am choosing to live with God as an active presence in everything I am. Not in the background, not as a last resort, but as part of how I move, how I choose, how I stay. And that's not God rescuing me from my life. That's God participating in my life. That's God as presence, God as witness, God as life moving through me. This season has been about me remembering who I am. It's not been about performance, becoming someone new, proving anything, belonging by overgiving, because that part of my life is over. It's been about me remembering who I am. If you're in this season where I've been, where I am, where I'm coming out of, where nothing looks like it's happening, but yet everything is being released, you're not stuck. You are integrating. This is where patterns lose their grip. This is where grief finishes movement. And this is where you remember who you are. Not by force, not by insight, but by staying. And that is what I've been practicing through this verse. Staying. If this is where you are, and I know it's so hard, it is a hard place to be. Don't run. Don't hide. Don't explain it away or give it an excuse. Stay. Feel it. Let it move through you. Because right now, this is all that God is asking of you. And God is right there with you.